to get back to running the country too. Millions and millions every week. You know, when Epstein was alive, nobody cared about him. When he's dead, they care about him. But it's really a Democrat problem. It's not a Republican, it's a Democrat problem. The only problem Republicans have is that we have to get back to, number one, running our country, and then number two, very importantly, letting the public know what a great job we're doing.
I also want to add one other thing which I think is really important. Republicans have now set a new precedent, which is to bring in presidents and former presidents to testify. So we're once again going to make that call that we did yesterday. We are now asking and demanding that President Trump officially come in and testify in front of the Oversight Committee. He appears in the Epstein files next to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell almost more than anybody else. So it's time for the president to answer questions about why files are missing from the DOJ, why there's been a White House cover-up, and why we continue in that administration to call this investigation a hoax. And finally, I'll review the call that we made yesterday that we are demanding, again, that the press and the public be allowed inside the depositions so that you can hear the answers and the questions directly. And if that's not going to happen, they need to release a full, unedited.
You talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and correspondence that he had with him. Did you read those new files that were published by the Department of Justice?
I didn't. I have a lot of things I'm doing, a lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned two names. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A lot of women who are survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions that came out. Some of them, entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent?
With the fact that they thought they released too much. I heard that, and you tell me something else. No, I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really, now that nothing came out about me, other than there was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
The bigger issue here is not just whether one political party is right or wrong. The real issue is precedent and accountability. When congressional oversight committees begin summoning former presidents and senior officials to testify, it changes the rules of the game in Washington permanently. If the standard now is that anyone with alleged connections to Jeffrey Epstein must answer questions under oath, then that standard cannot selectively apply to only one side of the political aisle. Democrats are now arguing that if Republicans opened the door by calling high-profile figures to testify, that same door must remain open for everyone, including Donald Trump. Republicans, meanwhile, argue that the president has already addressed these questions publicly and that further testimony may not be necessary. But here's where the debate becomes more serious. Public press interactions are not the same as sworn congressional testimony. A deposition carries legal consequences. Statements are made under oath. The level of scrutiny is higher. The transparency standard is different. At the same time, critics argue that this entire situation risks turning into another partisan spectacle, where the focus shifts from uncovering facts to scoring political points, and that may be exactly what voters are tired of. There's also a deeper institutional question. What happens when oversight becomes weaponized? If each Congress uses subpoena power primarily to target political rivals, the long-term effect could erode trust in oversight itself. On the other hand, if powerful individuals, regardless of party, are shielded from questioning, that erodes trust just as quickly. So the country faces two competing risks. Either oversight becomes political theater, or accountability becomes selective. The Epstein case remains one of the most controversial and sensitive issues in recent American political memory. Survivors continue to demand transparency, the public continues to demand clarity, and lawmakers continue to debate how far investigations should go. What makes this moment significant is that it may define future congressional behavior. If a former president can be summoned and questioned over associations, future administrations, Republican or Democrat, will operate under that same shadow. This is not just about Donald Trump. It's not just about Bill Clinton. It's about whether Congress is setting a standard it is prepared to live with long-term. The coming months will likely determine whether this evolves into a genuine bipartisan accountability effort or another chapter in Washington's partisan warfare. One thing is certain. Once a precedent is set in politics, it rarely disappears. And now, that precedent may apply to everyone. If you found this analysis useful, stay informed, stay critical, and stay engaged. Because in today's political climate, transparency and accountability are no longer just campaign slogans. They are battlegrounds.